Welcome to a story of unexpected encounters and transformative moments. On a bustling morning at John F. Kennedy Airport, Samuel Cooper, a successful executive, faced an unsettling situation that would challenge his resolve and lead to an eye-opening confrontation. Samuel, a dignified man who had fought against prejudice his entire life, was unfairly treated by flight attendant Lisa Harrison. What started as a routine issue with a first-class seat quickly escalated into a confrontation that would have lasting consequences for both Samuel and Lisa. This story takes you from the high of Samuel's career achievements to the low of discrimination, and finally, to a resolution that changes both their lives forever. If you are not subscribed, I recommend you subscribe and activate the bell so you don't miss any videos. John F. Kennedy Airport was a hive of activity that early morning, bustling with the energy and anticipation of travelers from around the globe. The large glass panels of the terminal caught the first light of dawn, casting a gentle glow across the sea of people moving purposefully through the corridors. Amidst this frenetic rush of individuals hauling suitcases, clutching travel documents, and navigating their dreams and anxieties, Samuel Cooper moved with a deliberate and unruffled grace. At 45 years old, Samuel stood out not through any overt display, but through the quiet confidence he exuded. His calm demeanor was a striking contrast to the hurried pace of those around him. Samuel was a man of presence. His dark skin was complemented by finely honed, well-defined features that spoke of a life well lived. His eyes, however, were the most telling, a deep well of serenity that reflected a lifetime of challenges faced and conquered. He wore a navy blue polo shirt that accentuated his athletic physique, paired with light linen pants. This combination was not only stylish but practical, designed for comfort on his journey. His destination was Atlanta, where his wife, Claire, and their 2 children awaited his arrival with eager anticipation. Samuel's recent days in New York had been consumed by a series of high-stakes meetings crucial for renewing a billion-dollar contract between his company and one of the country's largest airlines. As the vice president of global operations at a prominent technology giant, Samuel had reached this esteemed position through relentless hard work and unwavering dedication. His career had not been without its hurdles, often compounded by the subtle and overt prejudices he had encountered. Yet each challenge only served to fortify his resolve and enhance his accomplishments. As Samuel made his way to the boarding gate, his thoughts drifted to Claire. She had been his unwavering supporter throughout his career, offering encouragement and understanding, even when his job required extended periods away from home. Their journey together began in college, where their mutual admiration and love blossomed into a life built on deep respect and affection. This bond extended to their cherished children, Malik and Amara, who were a testament to the life they had cultivated together. Upon reaching the boarding gate, Samuel approached the counter and handed his ticket to the flight attendant on duty. The attendant, Lisa Harrison, was 32 years old and carried an air of professionalism. Her striking appearance, with her blonde hair meticulously styled into a bun and her piercing blue eyes, was complemented by a demeanor that spoke of dedication to her job. However, today, her usual warmth and friendliness were conspicuously absent. Among her colleagues, Lisa was known for her exceptional efficiency, but also for her stern, often unapproachable demeanor that sometimes veered into what others perceived as coldness. As Lisa glanced up to receive Samuel's ticket, her expression became abruptly guarded. She scrutinized the ticket with a level of intensity that seemed disproportionate to the task at hand. Despite everything appearing in perfect order, she hesitated and asked Samuel to wait a moment. The reason behind her hesitation was something she struggled to acknowledge even to herself. There was an inexplicable discomfort that surfaced as she processed the image of a black man in modest attire presenting a first-class ticket, a disparity that unsettled her in a way she couldn't fully articulate or understand. "Sir, please hold on for a moment," Lisa requested, her voice carrying a chill that belied her usual customer service tone. Samuel, taken aback by the unexpected request, nodded in confusion and remained standing as Lisa walked away. He watched as she approached one of the flight supervisors, an older man who seemed to be in charge of the boarding process. They exchanged a brief conversation, though Samuel could not hear the details. He noticed, however, the skeptical glance that Lisa threw in his direction during their discussion. The supervisor, after a cursory assessment and a glance at Samuel, appeared reassured that there was no issue. Lisa, seemingly appeased by the supervisor's response, returned to her post with an air of formality, while Samuel continued to wait, feeling a growing sense of unease. If you are still watching this video and find these stories useful, please comment number 1 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. "All right, sir, you may proceed," she said, returning the ticket but not offering a smile. Samuel, though uncertain of the exact situation, could sense a distinct chill in her demeanor and a noticeable difference in how he was being treated compared to others. Being someone who paid close attention to subtle cues and minute details, he couldn't ignore the stark contrast in the service he was receiving. Nonetheless, he chose to overlook it for the moment. Exhausted and eager to return home, he decided it was best to let it slide. As Samuel walked down the jetway and boarded the aircraft, he navigated his way to the first-class cabin. The ambience was a stark contrast to the cold interaction he had just experienced here. The environment was plush and inviting. The spacious seats were elegantly arranged and exuded a faint, soothing aroma of lavender, creating an atmosphere of calm and comfort. Samuel stowed his small carry-on bag in the overhead compartment and settled into his seat, feeling the plush cushion embrace him. He began to unwind, looking forward to a moment of relaxation before the plane's takeoff. With the boarding process still underway, Samuel allowed himself a brief respite by closing his eyes. His mind wandered to the events of the day, particularly the successful meeting he had in New York. He was eager to share the positive news with Claire. The contract he had just finalized promised not only to bring stability to thousands of employees at his company, but also to bolster its standing in the competitive global market. However, his moment of tranquility was abruptly interrupted by a familiar voice. "Sir, I apologize for the inconvenience, but I need you to accompany me," Lisa said, her voice carrying an authoritative edge. Samuel opened his eyes to see her standing next to him, her expression serious and her tone unmistakably commanding. Confusion washed over him as he asked, "Did something happen?" He sought to grasp the nature of the situation that had so suddenly disrupted his much-anticipated reprieve. "There appears to be an error with your ticket, sir. This seat is assigned to someone else. I need you to come with me, please." Samuel felt an immediate wave of discomfort wash over him. He was certain his ticket was correct, and in all his years of business travel, he had never encountered anything like this. With a furrowed brow, he turned to Lisa, seeking a more reasonable explanation. "With all due respect, there must be some mistake. This is my seat, and it is registered on my ticket. I believe there must be a misunderstanding here." Lisa maintained a rigid, unyielding posture, her expression devoid of sympathy. "Sir, I must insist. We need to resolve this issue outside of the first-class cabin. I would appreciate it if you would come with me." The other passengers began to take notice of the commotion. Whispers and murmurs started to circulate among them, while others watched the unfolding scene with curious eyes. Samuel felt the weight of their gazes and the growing tension in the air. As a black man, he was acutely aware that any resistance on his part could be misinterpreted, potentially escalating the situation further. It was a precarious situation, and he was keen to avoid any unnecessary confrontation. With a resigned sigh, Samuel stood up, grabbing his carry-on luggage. He followed Lisa down the narrow aisle of the plane. They passed through the business class cabin and then entered the cramped confines of economy class. Lisa halted next to an ordinary seat in the middle of the aircraft, far removed from the comfort of first class. "Please have a seat here. I will look into what went wrong with your ticket and return to discuss it with you." she said, her tone as cold and impersonal as ever. Samuel settled into the economy class seat, immediately feeling the discomfort of the reduced space and the closeness of other passengers. As a large man, the cramped conditions were a stark contrast to the comfort he was accustomed to in first class. He tried to adjust, but the seat seemed to shrink around him, intensifying his sense of discomfort and frustration. However, physical discomfort was the least of Samuel's concerns at that moment. As he settled into his seat, he couldn't help but notice the curious and varied looks of the passengers around him. Some gazed at him with an air of sympathy, as if they recognized the subtle injustice he was enduring. Others appeared more intrigued by the unfolding scene, viewing it as a spectacle rather than a genuine issue of inequality. Samuel took a deep breath, his mind wrestling with the frustration of the situation. He was acutely aware of the discrimination he was facing, yet the full scope of the prejudice remained elusive and troubling. It wasn't just about being placed in the cramped confines of economy class when he felt he deserved better, it was the systemic nature of the slight that gnawed at him. As he waited, Samuel's thoughts drifted to the broader context of his predicament. He had always acknowledged the existence of racism, but as someone who had achieved considerable success, he had convinced himself that his accomplishments would afford him some measure of immunity. Yet here he was, relegated to a modest seat far from the luxury of first class, feeling the sting of helplessness. He recalled the lessons imparted by his father during his childhood. His father, a dignified man who labored as a mechanic, had taught him that to achieve recognition and respect in a world skewed by prejudice, he would need to excel beyond the ordinary. "You'll have to be twice as good as anyone else to be seen as equal," his father had advised, a harsh but honest truth that Samuel had internalized and carried with him throughout his life. These lessons, though painful, had been instrumental in shaping his approach to overcoming obstacles and striving for success. Samuel's mind churned as he stood waiting, grappling with a sense of deep-seated frustration. He had always made it a point to rise above the prejudices that might be thrust upon him. Throughout his life, he had worked tirelessly to demonstrate his worth and capability, regardless of the color of his skin. His accomplishments and professionalism were meant to speak for themselves, yet here he found himself subjected to a form of disrespect rooted in assumptions and bias. It was disheartening to think that his presence in a first-class seat could provoke such a reaction from someone who didn't know him beyond superficial appearances. He felt a surge of determination. Samuel was not a man who sought conflict, but he was also not one to quietly endure mistreatment. He realized that this moment was not just about him, it was emblematic of a larger, systemic issue that many people of color faced daily. He resolved that he would not let this experience go unchallenged. He had a voice and a presence, and he was determined to use them to address what he perceived as an act of prejudice, not only for himself but for all who endured similar injustices. After several tense minutes, Lisa returned, her demeanor unchanged. She approached Samuel with the same icy professionalism she had displayed before. "Mr. Cooper," she began, her tone still cold and distant, "we have reviewed your ticket and identified an error. Unfortunately, the flight is now fully booked, and we are unable to accommodate you in first class at this time. We sincerely apologize for the inconvenience this may cause and will ensure that you receive appropriate compensation." If you are still watching this video and find these stories useful, please comment number 2 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. Samuel's heart sank as he heard her explanation. The response felt like a calculated maneuver, a convenient excuse that masked the underlying issue of bias he had sensed. It was clear to him that the problem went beyond a mere clerical error. This was a situation where prejudice had crept into the professional space, cloaked in the guise of procedural issues. Samuel's resolve hardened. He knew he had to address this, not only to seek justice for himself, but to confront the broader issue of discrimination that still permeated society. Instead of confronting Lisa immediately, Samuel chose a more measured approach. "Okay," he responded calmly, "but I want to ensure that this is documented properly and that I receive a formal explanation from the airline." His tone was steady, reflecting his intention to handle the matter with composure. Lisa's shoulders relaxed visibly at his non-confrontational stance, and she nodded in acknowledgement. "Certainly, sir. We'll make sure this is addressed as soon as we land." Samuel nodded in return, accepting her assurance. Lisa then turned and walked away, leaving Samuel with his thoughts. He knew the issue was far from resolved, but he decided it was best to remain composed and wait until the flight's conclusion to address it further. The journey from New York to Atlanta proceeded without any additional incidents. Samuel attempted to focus on his work, pulling out his laptop to review some reports. Despite his best efforts, concentrating proved difficult. The physical discomfort from his earlier interaction, combined with the emotional strain of the situation, made it challenging to stay absorbed in his tasks. As the plane cruised through the skies, Samuel's mind kept drifting back to the unfolding situation. He couldn't shake the feeling that this incident was more than just an isolated problem. It might be a precursor to something larger. The unease that had settled in his mind suggested that what seemed like a minor inconvenience could potentially lead to significant repercussions. With this in mind, Samuel prepared himself for the discussions and resolutions that would follow once he disembarked. When the plane finally touched down in Atlanta, Samuel chose to wait patiently for all the other passengers to disembark. He understood that the conversation he needed to have post-flight would require both privacy and focus. He was resolute in his intention to address the situation thoroughly, ensuring that such an incident would not recur without appropriate measures being taken. After disembarking, Samuel made his way to the baggage claim area, where he encountered Lisa once more. Her demeanor was markedly different from earlier. She seemed nervous, her shoulders tense, and her expression even more closed off than before. "Mr. Cooper, here is the compensation voucher for the inconvenience you experienced. We sincerely apologize for the trouble," she said, extending an envelope to Samuel. He took the envelope but did not immediately glance at its contents. A simple apology or financial compensation did not address the deeper issue for him. The matter at hand was far more significant. "Lisa, may I ask you a question?" Samuel began, maintaining a calm and composed tone. Lisa, taken aback, nodded cautiously, unsure of what was to come. "What led you to believe that I was not entitled to be seated in first class?" Lisa hesitated, momentarily caught off guard by the directness of the question. She struggled to find the right words, her voice faltering slightly. I was just following procedures, sir. Occasionally there are discrepancies with tickets, and we have to verify everything to ensure it's accurate." Samuel's gaze remained steady, his expression one of quiet determination. "I understand that procedures are in place to prevent errors, but these procedures must be applied with fairness and respect. The experience I had today was not just about a misplaced ticket. It felt like a profound disregard for my dignity. I hope in the future there will be a more thoughtful approach to such situations." Lisa's face flushed with a mix of embarrassment and acknowledgement. "I'm truly sorry if it seemed that way, Mr. Cooper. It was never my intention to cause any distress. I'll make sure to address this issue and work towards improving our process." Samuel nodded, accepting her response but remaining resolute. "Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate your attention to this matter. All passengers must be treated with the respect they deserve." With that, he turned and walked towards the baggage claim area, carrying with him a sense of closure, but also a resolve to ensure that future encounters would be handled with greater consideration and fairness. Samuel shook his head, the depth of his understanding evident, but his seriousness unwavering. "I acknowledge that mistakes can happen." He began, his tone steady. "But this situation feels like more than just an error. It seems you made a judgment about me before you even knew who I was, and that's simply not acceptable. Lisa's gaze fell to the floor, her discomfort palpable. She understood Samuel's point, but struggled to confront the reality of the situation. Her unease was clear, and she was reluctant to fully admit the gravity of her actions. "Look, Lisa," Samuel continued, "I'm not here to cause trouble, but I can't just overlook what happened. My name is Samuel Cooper. I am the vice president of the company that holds the air transportation contract with your employer. I was en route to a crucial meeting to discuss renewing that contract. Now, I have to seriously reconsider how my company should address situations like this. I can't permit my employees or clients to endure the kind of treatment I face today." The weight of Samuel's words landed heavily on Lisa. Her face drained of color as the realization set in. Samuel was not just a disgruntled passenger, he held significant influence over the future of the airline she worked for. The magnitude of her actions was now clear, and the potential consequences for her company loomed large. Samuel took a deep breath, summoning the composure and clarity that had guided him through countless challenges before. "I understand that you might not have acted with ill intent," he began, his voice steady but firm. "However, the reality is that prejudice, whether intentional or not, influences how we interact with others. This issue isn't just about a simple mistake, it's about a deeper, systemic problem that affects how people are treated based on their appearance. This cannot be ignored or swept aside." He paused, letting his words sink in. "I will be reporting this incident so that the company can review it and determine the appropriate course of action. But beyond that, I urge you to take this moment to reflect deeply on what happened today. Use this experience as an opportunity to grow and become a more empathetic and equitable person." Lisa's eyes welled with tears, the gravity of the situation hitting her with full force. She had always taken pride in her efficiency and professional demeanor, but in this moment, she realized that efficiency alone was insufficient without a foundation of humanity and respect. Her hands trembled slightly as she struggled to maintain her composure. I'm truly sorry, Mr. Cooper," she said, her voice quivering with emotion. "I never intended to cause any offense. It was never my intention to make you feel disrespected." Samuel nodded, recognizing the sincerity in her apology. "I believe in the power of second chances, Lisa," he said, his tone softening slightly. "Everyone makes mistakes, but it's how we learn from them that defines us. I will move forward from this incident, but I hope that you will use this as a chance to reflect on your actions and ensure that every passenger is treated with the dignity and respect they deserve, regardless of their appearance or station in life." With that, Samuel turned and walked away, feeling a mixture of relief and resolve. He knew that his actions had not only addressed his immediate concerns but had also sparked an opportunity for change, fostering a moment of reflection that could potentially impact how others were treated in the future. With those words, Samuel bade farewell and left the baggage claim area, leaving Lisa to her thoughts. He was aware that the incident was unlikely to be a fleeting memory, but he took solace in the fact that he had made an effort to plant the seed of change. When Samuel finally arrived home, he was warmly welcomed by his wife, Claire, and their children, Malik and Amara. Despite the unsettling events of the day, he resolved to put the matter aside for a few hours and fully immerse himself in the joy of being with his family. They enjoyed a hearty dinner together, shared stories about their respective days, and laughed heartily, temporarily setting aside the concerns of the outside world. As the night deepened and Claire and the children drifted into a peaceful sleep, Samuel found himself unable to rest. He sat quietly on the porch, gazing up at the star-studded sky. The tranquility of the night contrasted sharply with the turmoil that had stirred within him. Samuel reflected on the enduring impact of racism not just on his own life, but on countless others. He thought about the sacrifices and struggles of his ancestors, the battles he had fought to achieve his current position, and the relentless nature of that struggle. He understood that the influence he wielded came with a significant responsibility. It was not merely about addressing his grievances, but about leveraging his position to effect meaningful change. Samuel realized that the upcoming meeting with the airline was not just an opportunity to discuss business matters, but also a chance to advocate for comprehensive anti-discrimination and bias training for all employees. He resolved to use his voice and platform to ensure that others would not have to endure similar injustices. This commitment to fighting discrimination and promoting equality became a guiding principle for him as he prepared for the challenges ahead. Arriving home, Lisa was burdened by the weight of what had transpired. The incident replayed incessantly in her mind, leaving her feeling ashamed, guilty, and deeply confused about how she had arrived at this point. She had always prided herself on being fair and unbiased, yet she now recognized that something had gone awry in her judgment. If you are still watching this video and find these stories useful, please comment number 3 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. Lisa spent countless hours reflecting on the incident, analyzing every detail in an attempt to understand where she had gone wrong and how she might improve. The prospect of facing repercussions at work was daunting, but what troubled her the most was the realization that she might have contributed to perpetuating the very cycle of prejudice she despised. This realization spurred her to take concrete steps toward change. Determined to address her shortcomings, Lisa sought to educate herself more deeply about racism, prejudice, and the historical struggles for equality. She immersed herself in reading and research, striving to understand the complexities of these issues and how they intersected with her behavior. Additionally, she reached out for guidance from a mentor within the company, an experienced colleague who could offer insights and support as she navigated this journey of self-discovery and transformation. Weeks later, Samuel resumed his work routine, having moved past the immediate aftermath of the incident. He participated in several meetings, including a significant discussion with the airline regarding the experience. During these meetings, he advocated for comprehensive changes to training policies, emphasizing the importance of sensitivity and fairness. His suggestions were met with a positive reception, and he felt a sense of accomplishment knowing that his efforts had contributed to a constructive outcome from the negative experience. As for Lisa, the incident with Samuel catalyzed significant changes in her life. She became acutely aware of her attitudes and biases, leading her to treat all passengers with a newfound sense of empathy and respect, regardless of their appearance or status. This shift in perspective was transformative, making her realize the importance of seeing and valuing people for who they truly are, rather than judging them based on superficial impressions. The experience with Samuel became a pivotal moment for Lisa, prompting her to reassess and refine her approach to others. She embraced the challenge of becoming more conscious and equitable in her interactions, understanding that personal growth and fairness require ongoing effort and reflection. Meanwhile, Samuel continued his journey, fueled by his commitment to justice and equality. His resolve to advocate for change was not only a response to his own experience, but a broader effort to support and uplift others who faced prejudice and discrimination. His work became a testament to his dedication to creating a more equitable and just world for everyone. Both Samuel and Lisa moved forward from the experience, but it left a profound and lasting impact on their lives. Samuel remained steadfast in his fight for justice, while Lisa continuously sought to grow as a person, striving to embody fairness and empathy in all her actions. The incident served as a powerful reminder for both of them of the ongoing need for personal introspection and the pursuit of a more just and understanding society. Thank you for joining us on this journey through Samuel and Lisa's profound experiences. Their story is a powerful reminder of the impact our actions and attitudes can have on others and the importance of growth and understanding in the face of prejudice. What have you learned from their story so far? Take a moment to reflect on how you can apply these lessons in your own life. We'd love to hear from you. Comment below and share one thing you've learned and how you plan to practice it in your life. If you like this video, please leave your comment. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more inspiring content. Thank you for watching.